I had an idea on the way here, and that was like entrepreneurial Barbie. Okay? So I have a phone. I have my second cup of coffee. I'm wearing coffee right here because you're not entrepreneurial Barbie unless you are. I have on a ball cap over messy hair that says badass because I want to remind myself of that when I look in the mirror. And a jean jacket with, a button up, heels because it's Thursday. So all that to say, I hope the Barbie doesn't make you mad, but I believe in you. We are going to, and by the way, I'm from Ball State, like I came to school here, I graduated from here. I have been in your seat, and if I would have walked in the door 20 years ago when I was here, I would have been really upset with what I wanted to tell you to do. So, there's the floor. I really need us to get into a circle. How many of you have moved furniture before? Anybody ever moved a piece of furniture before ever in your life? Some people have not moved furniture before. So y'all need to take note of the people who have never moved furniture and please assist them. If you have a lot of furniture moving experience, what we're going to do is forego the tables and get chairs in a circle. Now, when I told the two people right here that this was my plan, they started devising their own plan. Like, well, we could do this, and we could do that, and we could do that. And I was like, well, surely they've moved furniture before. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes to get yourselves in a circle, and I'm going to join you in the circle. So, hey, you did that in 3 minutes. Give yourselves a round of applause. I know you can do it. Before we headed over here, Candy said she had a book for me. The book was called Hidden Potential. I've never read that book.
Oh, yay.
But I believe in everyone's hidden potential. And so how ironic it was when I stepped into the room and I had the idea to do this, that she was like, and I said, what was the title of that book you just gave me or told me about? Hidden Potential. So I got my start here at Ball State, and I want you to imagine this. Imagine yourself 10 years from today. What are you doing? This is not like therapy share session. It's just, I'm going to take you through some thinking exercises. 10 years from today, what are you doing? What do you look like? Who are you hanging out with? What job do you have? How do you spend your free time? Okay. I graduated from Ball State in 2002, and 10 years after that, I was doing exactly what I thought I would be doing 10 years later, which was teaching. I came to school to be a teacher. The Teachers College, I was an elementary education major and went all the way through that, graduated, started teaching, and I was doing what I thought I would do. Now, I'm going to have you imagine 20 years out. So add 20 to your age today. What are you doing? Who do you hang out with? What do you look like? Where do you work? What do you do in your free time? 20 years out, I was not doing what I thought I would be doing. I got into the field of education and didn't realize that there was some fixing to do. So I understand this as a leadership. Oh yeah, the other, instead of the Barbie, I was going to do what's in her bag, but don't stick around after. Got chocolates, probably. So 20 years out, I actually was not teaching a class. I was leading other people in best practices in education. And so when I thought about having the opportunity to talk to you all, I get the opportunity to talk to young people. So I lead circles just like this for 4-year-olds through 17-year-olds daily in my life. I also lead adults that lead children in the same way. But when I was given the opportunity to come and talk to you guys, the very first thing that popped in my head was start where you are. Because I was where you are when I started. And I didn't even know what I was starting. But two things, I have two kind of main points with this, but then I have a little bonus. How many of you are in this class because you want to lead something? How many of you are in this class because you already lead something? How many of you are in here that want to be a business owner or an entrepreneur? Okay. Did anyone lose a bet? Is that why you're here? So if you want to lead anything or you want to own a business, start a business, there are two things that have really helped me, and Rob mentioned that I'm an accidental entrepreneur. I'm a writer, and so that's a book that I know I'm supposed to write at some point because this message is very important. I just don't have time to write it right now because I have other things going on. But starting where I was, when I was here where you are, I was figuring out what I was good at and what I was not good at. I actually ran this talk by some 7 through 12-year-olds this morning. And I started it by saying, I'm Lyndie, I'm a loser, and I'm a winner. I'm a failure, and I'm a success. And so as I have gone through, I'm a follower and I'm a leader. So as I've gone through from where you are to where I am, every step of the way, there have been little dots that I've connected with what my life's supposed to be spent doing. So 2 places where I really have put those dots together is in leadership. One is lateral leadership. That's why we're in a circle. When you're in a circle, we can see everyone. So a deep human need is the need to belong, right? Or the need to be seen. We can see everyone. We can see everyone's body language. We can see them nodding. We can see them nodding off. We can see that everyone is here as equal. And in the space of education, when I got into it, I realized that I had the desire to lead laterally in a system that was hierarchical. That was a hierarchy, right? I was wanting to be peers and lead people, not be friends, but be on the same level with children, because it was mostly in elementary space. And everybody else in my life said, no, you're supposed to stand up in front of them. You are the knower of the things. You're supposed to give them the information. You are the expert in the room. Oh, by the way, here, let's strap you down with some teacher's manuals, because if you don't know, then these people who don't really know you or your students or where you live are saying, this is what you should spoon feed them, right? And so I got started in the journey that I knew that I would, which was teaching. But I very quickly realized that I was being told to do something I didn't believe in, which was get up in front of people and pretend that I know everything. It didn't sit well with me. Then I realized I've worked in a lot of places, I've taught in a lot of places. I started here in IPS, and then I moved to Georgia and then other places. But I realized that there were other people that were working alongside me that believed that. They believed that they were the knower of the things, and that their job as a teacher was to impart their wisdom and knowledge into other people. That was gross to me, and I couldn't stand it. And so I started to look at, man, how could I impact the world and let people know that none of us are better than anybody else? That we actually are called to lead laterally, meaning just lead wherever you are. Start where you are and lead. I went back and got my master's degree in educational leadership, not because I wanted to be a principal, because I wanted to sit in the room with people who wanted to be principals and figure out why they were there. I did that. But then I got to travel around and help people make their schools better. So I was a turnaround schools coach, and I would go into the school and I would basically break down their hierarchy of leadership. And when I would get on the ground with 5-year-olds and ask them what they thought, and the principal, who is not just the leader in the room, but the leader in the school, right? He knows everything, was like, what is she doing? What is she doing? And so I've continued to use this lead laterally throughout my whole career. From being an educator to being a consultant, I still do that work a little bit. But then Taylor is my husband, by the way, he's right over there. I met my Prince Charming, fell in love, got married, had some kids. When we had our children, the system that was a hierarchy that put somebody in front of the children and made the children think that that person knows everything, that was a different dynamic. Because at that point, I wasn't the adult in the room that could sit on the floor with the 5-year-olds. There was an adult in the room with my 5-year-old, literally. And do I know the mindset of that person? No. So we started looking into other options for our kids. Taylor said, well, you know, you've done a lot of things in education, you could just homeschool them, which I just completely respect, honor, and like adore anyone who can homeschool their children. I need my dinner table to only do dinner stuff. So I couldn't do that. That was just not me. But what I could do was to come onto the scene of an education system that needed to know that children are important, and they have a lot of ideas that nobody's letting them talk about. They have a lot of interest and hidden potential, that they can move furniture in less than 5 minutes. And I was the only one saying that. So we decided to start our own school. And in that school, it is all about leadership. It is about how do we show up to lead ourselves first and other people second. So start from where you are. You are already a leader, leading yourself well or poorly. You can go out of that door right after this class and choose something different for you. You may already be somebody leading a group, a sports team, a group on campus, a church group, a friend group, a band. You might already be leading something somewhere else, and you can go out of the room and lead differently. The other part that I get to talk to children about, and adults, man, adults are really hard on this next one. There are 2 aspects to my leadership style that have made me successful in it. I gauge that success by growing numbers of schools, happy families, surveys that show that people are thrilled, children that don't want to leave school instead of don't want to go to school because of our schools. That's not because of me, it's because of them. But the next thing, man, if I tell parents or adults, especially typically teachers or professors, they don't like this. Lateral leadership is one thing. Committed followership is something else. Not only do you lead something, you follow something, right? So you might follow a sports team. You might follow a belief system. You might follow in a class. And so I get to sit with young people and just have them investigate their own leadership, but also their own followership. Just because you lead something doesn't mean you lead everything, right? And so I use the example when I'm talking to kids of yoga class. Like, you do not want me to lead a yoga class. I can follow directions. I can't lead the class. And so within each of us, there are these areas of leadership and followership. And so investigating who you are as a leader and who you are as a follower is like the most important thing you can do right now. When I talk to children about that concept, they say things like this. Good leaders put other people first. Good leaders are kind. Good leaders are fair. Good leaders know that they don't know everything. Bad leaders are bossy. Bad leaders are controlling. Bad leaders have unrealistic expectations for everybody. They say good followers show up. Good followers are committed to the mission, and good followers will work. Bad followers complain. Bad followers cost us energy. Bad followers, I'd rather not have on my team. So in this room, I can tell that there are people that are going to change the world. At our school, our kind of tagline is find a calling, change the world. You can't change the world if you don't know how you're supposed to change it. And so for us, when I talk with people, the find a calling part of our mission is knowing who you are. If you've avoided knowing who you are, then you're doing yourself and the world a disservice. So you have to investigate who you are. You have to ask some people around you who you are. And you have to be okay with what they say. Change the world happens when you interact with the world and you know the world well enough to know that how that calling and who you are was meant to uniquely fit into making the world a better place. That doesn't mean that you have to travel to every continent or country. It doesn't mean that you have to do something that's on the news. It doesn't mean that you have to do something where a bunch of people follow you. You can actually just, pick up trash you see on campus and you've just changed the world. So those were my 2 things I wanted to share, starting where you are. Starting here at Bell State, I didn't know those things. I would have paid good money as a broke college student for somebody to tell me those things. But it took me 20 years to figure out that the essence of leadership is actually how you lead and being on level with people you're leading and not standing up over them and not ruling them and not being the expert, but just to share in the experience with them as they are. And then it took, it's taken longer time for me to figure out how to be a good follower. Because like I said, if you know about the Enneagram, I'm a 1, I'm a firstborn, I'm a Virgo, and I'm a girl. So all those things are stacked up about Lyndie being a good follower, right? Like she's not gonna be that. So that one's taking longer. Just to know, and yoga class is my fake example, but there are places in the world where I have to follow and be committed to following, committed to knowing that I don't know the best way, committed to knowing I don't know everything. So those are 2 areas I wanted to leave you with. There is another thing. I'm going to leave some time for questions, and I do have a bonus freebie if anybody is interested in running a business, becoming an entrepreneur, or is currently studying business or marketing. And so I don't need to take up all of y'all's time to do that. But if you want to see me after, I have my foolproof marketing plan for somebody who didn't plan to be an entrepreneur, but now has successful schools everywhere. Any questions?
Questions for Lyndie? Oh,
So
wait.
do you implement the kind of like circle thing as part of the school's curriculum? And so what does that look like?
That looks just like this. So at our school, it's self-directed learning, but we meet 3 times in a circle like this daily.
Mhm.
And in that, those meetings are designed to inspire, equip, or connect the learners. So it's a short, which is why my talks never last more than 15 minutes because their attention span's about that. So 23 is long. But one of the things, for instance, yesterday we talked about personality. Right now they're doing a study on wilderness survival and they're trying to survive in the woods in a controlled setting, right? I don't just drop them off, they're young. But they're creating shelters and tying knots and making controlled fires. And it's all approved by the Atomic Thunder Universe. But one of the things that we talked about was identity, right? If you're gonna survive with a team, and actually ironically, I went to one of Candy's workshops not that long ago, and the icebreaker, which I hate icebreakers. I hate them. Why? I'm already here, I'm in it, came in the door. Stop making me do icebreakers. I mean, moving chairs around, that's kind of an icebreaker, sorry. But the icebreaker was the zombie apocalypse, and your table team is who you're surviving with. And so part of the curriculum is getting them to be introspective and also look around to see who's going to help me. So one of their launches, we call them launches, was thinking about personality in terms of, is your personality dependent upon your mindset and what you think about, or is your personality dependent upon what happens? So if you've ever heard of the Socratic method, where we give you a question, we give you an A-B choice, you take a stand and you argue it, that's what we do all the time there. And so really we're just encouraging them to think. And then in the other environments where I've been a teacher and other things, they were encouraging them not to think. They were encouraging them to follow directions and here a schedule, and here's the information, and I need you to regurgitate it in 3 weeks on the test, and that just wasn't helpful to their lives. I didn't see that was, changing who they were becoming. It was really just a temporary annoyance, which I'm sure you all have experienced. So yeah, we do this, and that's how.
They don't have that annoyance in this class.
They better not.
We have no tests.
They better not. No study guides? I'm just kidding. That was,
I'm like,
that
no,
was a
I
bad,
don't think so.
bad joke. Bad joke.
My blood pressure went up for a second there. Like, wait a minute, I have to think about this. No,
Okay,
nope, it's all about them.
it's
Really.
all about you. Now wait, is every class like that on Ball State's campus? They're all about, oh, okay.
Do you implement the stuff in school at home as well? And if so, what areas do you find successful or what areas do you find hard to implement?
Yes, this has caused major trouble in my marriage and family life. Because, I'm so glad you came.
Taylor, would you like to chime in on that?
Because I trust humans so much, no matter how old they are, I want them to buy into everything. So I'll give you the example of chores. Taylor is like, our last name is Metz, you do these chores. I am like, let's make a spinner. We're just gonna make a spinner, guys. Here's the living room and the kitchen. Here, we're gonna spin it, and then we'll go do that. So the answer is, yes, I try, but sometimes Taylor reminds me that in our home, we are parents that were given these children to guide to eventually become adults that are successful, productive, and responsible. And so sometimes our kids are 7, 9, and 11, so now it's better. Like we can use these things more. But when they were really little, I was kind of like, let's make it all fun. And he was like, oh my Lord, they're never going to clean up their snack trash if you just make it a basketball game, right? Like they just need to know that we clean up after ourselves. So we balance it.
It's a balance.
We balance it.
Your wife's always right.
Yep. Believe me, I know.
I was just wondering what the easiest and hardest parts of like starting a school were, because I can't even like begin to think about all of those steps.
Right, so our school is a network. We're in a network of about 350 schools worldwide. And so we started the first one here in Indiana, and we've started a few after. Actually, there's one opening in Muncie next year. But a lot of the people that opened schools like ours didn't have educational backgrounds. They just came into it. They didn't like what was an option for their own kids, and so they started a school, okay? For them, the answers would be different than what I'm about to tell you. For me, the easiest part was I had a history of expertise in education. I knew exactly where to go for curriculum alignment and assessment information and all the back end stuff of teaching and running a school. The hardest part was the stuff I've avoided my whole life, which is like, budgeting and understanding taxes and all the nuts and bolts of like business is quite easy in Indiana, but beyond that, quarterlies and annuals and all the information I didn't already know has been the hardest. So I mean, I think that's everything, right? Like you show up, start where you are, what you have, and you have to have grit to learn the rest. So no matter what the rest is, you have to know that like I'm just gonna have to learn how to do it. Because for me, being a leader and being an entrepreneur, I know that I can delegate to other people, and I do delegate to other people, but I want to know how it's done before I delegate. And so I think that's a personality thing too. So yeah, easiest was my past experience lined up really easily with a school. Hardest was financial treasurer stuff for me, but you guys are in the business school, so it's probably the opposite for you. Yeah.
So I'm sure like coming in and being a disruptor, you received like a good amount of backlash or people like not wanting to listen. So like kind of how did you cope? How did you get people to listen to you?
That's so good. I went to Adrenaline and jumped and played Shake It Off a lot. T Swift is like my, she has a lot of anthem jams for me. But seriously, I think that knowing who you are and knowing the value you add to the world and market and reminding yourself of that is the most important thing. Right now, I do have like some coaching and consulting clients, people that lead schools, and I would say that, the majority of them are not coming to me to help them do school better. The majority of them are coming to me with that question. Like, how do I not fall for the hits in my self-confidence because I've let someone down, right? And so in my case, disrupting, wouldn't say I'm like a radical disruptor. I didn't care to show up and like bash anybody else, because I firmly believe that every person is different, therefore every option for education works for someone. And so I don't want anyone ever to think that like what we're doing is the best. It's not. It's not the best. It's the best for our children, and that's why we did it. So that's helped me, knowing that I'm not disrupting, and really it comes back to lateral leadership, right? I will sit around the table with public school and private school, everybody else, which has kept me very much like in good relationship and connection with those people. And when you have good relationships and connections with those people, and there is a rift or a complaint, it's easier to look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm here to make the world a better place. Like, I'm not here to make anyone mad. So that's helped me. And trampoline jumping does help. Yeah.
What were some of the challenges you faced with like getting other parents to buy in with like creating a new school, especially when you were first starting out?
You know, it wasn't hard, because we opened our school in August of 2020. We didn't do that strategically. We signed up to open our school in 2019, and then things changed in the world. And so what was difficult was sifting out the people who were looking for a Band-Aid because of COVID and people who were actually looking for a change in education plan for their kids. So I would say in any product or service, knowing what makes them emotional is very helpful. So like I could tell my story of when our oldest, our daughter, was going to start kindergarten. I started to not be able to sleep at night because I was getting worried about options. And then they're always like, oh yeah, I get that, right? So finding the connection, the emotional connection with people you're serving is really important. Not as a strategy, more of like, I'm just like you. And that's why I'm here. And so anytime we made a connection where I'm just like you, like I think homework's stupid, right? Like I don't think children are at school, our school doesn't have homework. So like children are at school for 7 hours a day. Why do they have to go home and do 3 hours of homework? That instantly was like, yeah, we want our family time back, right? So there were some common threads of things I took notes on. I'm a writer, so I journal everything and I write everything out. And so there's some common threads and themes that would always grab people. And then I had to decide, are these the right people to grab, right? Because our school was originally started by a couple of, a husband and wife team, but the husband had lots of businesses before he started this. And he always says, the customer's always right, but you get to choose your customer. And that has come back a million times to me and other people running schools. So knowing that I want to sell it to the right people, but I don't want to sell it just to anyone. Yes.
Have you ever had like a goal that means a lot to you, but you've kind of realized it's really far-fetched and probably unattainable? Like
Yes.
how do you deal with that?
Yep. That's so good. Well, not so much in business, but personally. Like I really want to run another half marathon, but every single day, other things take up my time, right? So it's like creating systems around the thing that you want. So whatever it is, it could be a business goal, it could be a personal goal, and I still have a lot of work to do here. I think that makes people good leaders to know that there are things that I have not yet achieved. And the way in which I would tell other people to do it needs to be what I tell myself. I think I get in my own way a lot. And so like you just asking that question is helpful to me, right? So I can now write down, set your alarm, get up a half hour earlier, take a run, make yourself do it. Hey, put money in your running shoes. Like you might get paid, like pay yourself. So anything that drives my motivation or system, I will add in to make that happen. Unattainable business goals. I don't know, I've just had a lot of things come my way. When I went to the owners conference or the orientation before we started our school, I was challenged to think about not just my goals now, but my hill over there. Like, what is the thing way out in the future that might not be possible, but it'd be really cool if it did? And the thing over there for me, I didn't even know until I sat there, was I want one of our schools, or a school like ours, where children have lateral leadership available for everyone in the state of Indiana within 20 miles of their house. That's my hill over there. That feels very unattainable, but just starting where I am and taking small steps in the ways that I can do that myself, but I can also encourage other people that are passionate about this has helped. So small steps. Bye. Anybody else before we do our grand finale?
Another quick question.
Yes.
Have you always had that grit, or is that something that you've had to develop? And if so, what have you done to develop that grit?
Yes, such a good question. I actually was the shyest person growing up. I was so shy, and I never spoke in class because I didn't want to be wrong. I was so shy that my parents would go to parent-teacher conferences, and the teachers would actually say, we think something might be wrong with her because she doesn't talk. Nothing was wrong with me. I just didn't want to talk, right? And so fast forwarding that with my experiences of not wanting to talk, and then middle school is just always weird for everybody. And then high school, really just being about social things. Like, I did not apply myself in high school at all. I could have done way better. But I'm fine. You know what I mean? Like, it turned out okay. But I think that over time, the grit that I developed, I was born with a sense of wanting right for the world. And over time, I have been able to experience things that I see as unjust, and then know that it's going to take a hell of a lot of grit to make a difference in that area, right? And so my grit, honestly, has come mostly from the failures that I have had to endure publicly. And so as a leader, you know, you're not going to make everybody happy all the time. But to know, again, like I said for another answer, like to know that you are doing your best, you have good intentions, you're working hard, that's all you can do. And grit has developed from that. And overcoming those things with people that believe in what we're doing has helped that too. Somebody over there have a question? Yeah.
Okay, so a couple things. So your kids have always went to that school, after you realized, that you weren't feeling what they were learning before?
So our oldest was in first grade when we started it. She has always gone there. Our middle child has always gone there. Our third child, our youngest, actually was our first exit of our school. The first two are a lot like me. The third one's a lot like Taylor. Just gonna leave that there. So at our school, the self-directed learning model and peer accountability, which we have, doesn't work for everyone, and it also doesn't work early for some people, but it works later. So our youngest went into the world I'm just tough. I'm tough. I'm gonna do whatever I want to do. And he wouldn't listen to other people. And our school's model is that collectively we have value, all for one, one for all, right? We base that off of a book called Tribal Leadership by David Logan. If you have not read Tribal Leadership, go buy it or check it out or whatever you need to do. Phenomenal book about moving from life sucks to life is great. And so sometimes people are not ready to see themselves in a great life, or sometimes they're not developmentally there to even have that deep of a thought, right? And so our youngest, Beckham, was started at our school, but he wasn't really getting along with his peers, and the plan wasn't working for him. So we placed him somewhere else for a year. Then he came back the next year, and then last year, he started the school year at our school, but he really needed more structure. At our school, we don't have teachers, we have guides. And just like I said, not everyone is responsible with their own learning. Some people need people to be the expert in the room. Beckham needed to meet someone meaner than mommy and daddy. And we got our answer clear. So he did kindergarten somewhere else, and then he came back. He's at our school this year. So yeah. Yeah.
So, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, is your school kind of like Montessori learning?
Mhm.
Okay.
So I work with a lot of teams, companies,
Mhm.
and sometimes I feel like they pay me a ridiculous amount of money for this kind of stuff
Mhm.
because they just don't understand leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you're making me question whether I really do myself a little bit here, but which is good. I like to be made uncomfortable. So it's good, really. But one of the things, I have this fundamental belief that innovation and leadership, the link between the two is extremely strong.
Mhm.
And so much so that they're almost like one and the same
Mhm.
type of thing, because when you do all the things that make for a creative team, an innovative team, it's because you're all chasing the same types of things. You're chasing excellence, you're chasing learning, you're chasing getting everyone involved, collaborating. And one of the phrases I always use with clients is disrupt or be disrupted.
Mhm.
And so I feel like it's fundamental to a healthy team that we should constantly be disrupting each other to think like, okay, are we thinking this through right? Or are we just going with what we know? So you said one of your strengths was, when you came into this, was your expertise. But was it also, even though you were a disruptor, could it be a bit of a challenge? Because one of the exercises we do with companies always is, what are the rules of your industry? Okay, now let's give you permission. You've written them all down. Let's give you, and when I say rules, I mean like standards, unwritten rules. Write them all down and just blow them up. Just give yourself permission to start thinking differently. So is that also, even though it's a strength, it can be a weakness too of all these conditioned approaches?
So it's very interesting because I think in other industries I would definitely say yes. But when I am in the industry of helping humans understand who they are, it will always come back to my belief that they have unlimited potential and are all geniuses. If I were making sandwiches, for sure, right? But I'm not, I'm not resting on what I know and the formula to make a sandwich. I'm resting on what is inside of them and what they know and just the power of pulling that out. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
surrounding them with tools and.
I mean, of course, the right environment, right? I would say that you don't have to be an innovator to be a leader. Leaders.
But you have to encourage it.
There has to be a team developed that has enough innovators that somebody's going to take the baton forward. But so yesterday I did not lead. I hosted a sourdough class for people who are interested in starting sourdough, right? So this is a story about how it was not my innovation, it was simply my leadership. I don't know anything about sourdough. I think it's really weird that you have to feed something that isn't alive. It is alive, I was informed. Okay? I get it, I have the packet, I got it all. But in that environment, I was not an innovator. I wasn't trying to change things. All I was doing was giving a place for people to register for an event and unlocking a door. That was my leadership. That was logistical leadership. I didn't need to be in there asking them questions. I didn't need to be in there even caring. I just needed to provide a place and a way for people to sign up. That was leadership. And so people sometimes think, oh my gosh, you're doing so many things. I'm like, I am not leading a sourdough class, right? I just need to delegate the innovation, and I need to delegate the helper, or the person who actually knows a little bit more than about the rest of us, this topic. So I would say, and there's a t-shirt that I've wanted to make for so long, which is humans are not sandwiches. Because sometimes, especially in our world where we're running schools and other people are running alongside us, but they had business experience in the past, they come into this with give me the formula, give me the visuals, give me all the things, and I'm like, I'm here because I didn't like the formula. I'm here because I didn't like the conveyor belt. I'm here because I believe in what's inside of them, not what you're attaching to them. So I'm going to be thinking about that one later too.
Yeah, but if you had a teacher who was bought into the system,
Oh yeah.
that would be a huge weakness.
Clear is kind, right? If you're clear with your vision, that is kind to the people that follow you. So if they don't know the vision for our school is that we find a calling and change the world. If you aren't in that vision, that by itself is innovation, but if you aren't bought into that vision, then I don't really know why you're here. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so you're like K through 12, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what do you do differently with your like younger kids than you do with like the older ones? Do you still do like everything kind of like the same? Or are they like kind of having like the same kind of structure throughout all the years?
The younger ones don't have technology. The two main goals for the younger, and I'm speaking like ages 4 to 7, their 7th birthday in the state of Indiana, so 4 to 6, and then when they turn 7, is be kind and clean up. That's all. Self-regulation is the goal for that early environment, because what we've found is that when you start pushing down facts and words and numbers and add and write and all the things, you lose the opportunity to develop their character when it should be developed first. And all the other stuff is very easy to learn. So the younger ones are more focusing on sharing and playing games and cleaning up after themselves. And they have their own, all of our schools have studios, they're mixed age studios. And so they create their own contracts, so their promises they're gonna keep to each other. So it's varied a little bit, but I would say the biggest difference is they don't have technology until they're 7.
How do you teach them to resolve conflict with each other?
That's a good one. We have a process called Peace Table. And basically we just give them recipes that encourage them to do clear and kind communication. So we just did this 4-week draw a line in the sand. We call them writers' workshops, but they looked at scenarios in which they had conflicts, and then they were given a recipe, so words to say with fill in the blanks for when you're in conflict. They created role plays, so it was not personal. Something Taylor and I learned a long time ago was parenting is easiest when it's non-confrontational parenting, meaning I'm my worst parent when I'm just in the moment and yelling at someone. But if I can, outside of this intense moment, say, hey guys, guess what? Later, when we're done with dinner, I'd really love for everybody to help me like take their plates over, non-confrontational parenting. And so we do the same thing in non-confrontational communication at school, which is let's remove ourselves from this scenario and just say, somebody used Miley and Billy Cyrus, which was hilarious. So let's just use Miley and Billy, and let's talk about a scenario that they might have or encounter, and then we'll use the recipe. The story was like this. Miley is tapping her pencil. Billy is getting annoyed. So Billy says, Miley, you're tapping your pencil and I can't concentrate. Could you please stop? And Miley says, no, it's helping me work. And Billy says, but it's not helping the rest of us. Like there is like a structure. So they're basically like question or sentence stems that they can fill in, and then they can lead this themselves. So at our school, the children do lead themselves. I mean, they are given recipes or systems or rubrics, but once that is up on the wall, they actually don't want adults to interfere with it. So they can just use that.
It's a nightly occurrence at our house,
Yeah.
the pencil tapping. And the griping by the other one, and the back and forth. And they negotiate it until they figure it out. Sometimes we interject.
And I work with lots of like school leaders, like I said, around the world, but I also work with guides from other people's schools. And one of the questions I ask them all the time is it bothering you or is it bothering them? So even this morning, there was a young lady that came into our school and she had a pen that was clicking, oh my Lord, I don't know, 400 times. And I was like, oh, I just wanted to let her stop it. Like, it's so annoying. But I didn't, because it wasn't bothering anyone else. It was only bothering me. So. Yeah.
How do you deal with like fights? Like they're like
We don't have fights.
going at each other.
We don't. We've never had a fight. Never. At any of our campuses, never had a fight. Because they know how to use their words to communicate with each other. They don't have to use their fists.
I know you said that you don't have homework at your schools. Do you have like textbooks or tests at all? And like, what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, so they have the option to have textbooks. It's a hard word. It's not really. And they do have some like challenges. So they don't have report cards or grades. They have badges that they earn. And the badges correlate with grade level content, right? So if they earn the Math 5, then that's Math 5th grade in Indiana. So they do have some threshold challenges where they have to prove what they know. But they don't have like sit-down tests.
Okay.
They also have the option, like the parents can opt into standardized testing just so that they can get that score. But they don't have to opt into that. It's up to the parents. Oh,
Oh, so my question was, if you don't have grades for your school, since it's K through 12, how do your students like show colleges what their
Yeah.
like GPA or something?
yes. So when they get to middle school, we start working transcript plans. And they have different curriculums that are online curriculums. One of the campuses does all their own online curriculum. The other campus, the local high school, has a virtual high school option where they can take care of all that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, they just have to get to the place where, another thing that we do is called Next Grade Adventure. They have to get to the place where if their next grade adventure includes college, they need to figure out how they're going to get to college. Right? If their next grade adventure doesn't include, like I have one right now that is, he's 16. He doesn't want to go to college. He wants to start his own, is it lawn care or some kind of dog security system, like invisible fence system, where he installs those. He already has his business plan. He's 16. He doesn't need to go to college right now. He might want to later. So he's getting all of his requirements just in case someday down the road he wants to go to college. But right now that's not in his next grade adventure. His next grade adventure is let me go start a business and make some money and do things I love. So
Do you encourage college for your children?
for our individual kids, well, I have told them if college is in their future, they're coming to Ball State. Something like that. Of our 3 children, let's see who will end up in college. One wants to be an actor because he and Chris Pratt have the same birthday and he thinks that that's destiny. So he loves Jurassic World Park, all the things, and Guardians. So I don't know. I mean, we've talked about did Chris Pratt go to school, right? So we link children to role models and say, what did they do? What did they do? What did he do? Tenor, actually, he's our middle child. We do this writing project called Letter to a Hero where they research a hero and they write a letter to a hero and say, here's why you're my hero. He wrote to Chris Pratt. And it got to Chris Pratt. And Chris Pratt sent him an autographed picture back. And so he is like cloud 9, right? So he may act. The other 2, if they go, those would be the most likely to go to college, I'd say. Tanner probably go too. But no, I don't think we encourage one way or the other. Our daughter wants to, she changes her mind all the time. The other thing that, she wants to be a cellist, but she also wants to be a bakery designer. We have musical ability in our family, but also her dad is a landscape architecture professor, so that's there. Again, if she lines up her next grade adventure in 4 years or 5 years when she's working on it, and she's like, well, in order to do this, I really need an interior design degree, she'll go.
So if it's a barrier to your goals or
Totally.
or a gateway.
Same for SATs and tests and all that. Like if it's just a stepping stone, they figure out how to do it, use it as a tool, and move on.
Have you had a kid from your school like go to college yet? And if so, how is that transition?
Yeah, so our school started in 2020, and we started with young. I think at that time, 9 was our oldest. So right now we have 2 that just turned 13 at our school. But in the 350 schools around the world, they definitely have. I'm sitting in a college classroom, so I don't want to tell you this next thing, but I'm going to.
Go ahead.
I'm going to say
Please.
it. So a lot of them find that after the work that they've done on themselves and with others, that a lot of the classes that they attend are a joke. Because the people imparting knowledge on them, they don't, like, they feel like they could learn that information easier, more effectively, or in a more interesting way. But no, we've had kids go to every school, Ivy League schools, all the schools, jobs, working with NASA, like, you know, everything.
Okay, can I add, like, can you talk about apprenticeships, like how?
Oh yeah, they start
focus on that?
apprenticeships when they're 12 at our school. And so they start to, because the find the calling, change the world thing, find a calling, change the world. I better stop drinking coffee. Yes! I'm like hitting you in the face. Our plan with that is to let them have experience in things they're curious about and also knock them out really quickly. Not waste money or time on things that they don't want to do. So at age 12, they start something called an apprenticeship prep, and they start to look at their gifts, their talents, their calling, and industries that are local that would like to have them help. And they do apprenticeships all the way through high school. So by high school, they have a pretty good grasp of what they don't like to do. Like, I don't want to run a donut store just because I like donuts. I do. I didn't realize that part of owning a donut store was taking the trash out. You know, it's like stuff like that. Is that adequate?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, question for you that you can't totally answer, but we can talk later, but, for us, I see a challenge as the education system continues to get disrupted, is a lot of the things we do now, we're doing because it didn't happen K through 12, which is really frustrating. So, like, I feel like a lot of the things even in this class, like, I'm trying to get them to understand who they are, and they already know that to a certain degree. A lot of you are juniors and seniors, but it would be great if I didn't have to do that. We could do something else, more advanced. Not that this isn't important, I think it's incredibly important, but, and also I think by having the speakers and saying, what did you get out of that? What do you like to, does that help you sort out what do you want to do in life, what do you not want to do? But what if the system improves so much to where the shift for us, it's like, ooh, I guess we'll start to see it, but it's a little scary too, because like I feel like I'm pretty decent at that stuff, but what if somebody's doing it before us in K through 12, what do we do now?
So you're scared about job security?
No, I'm just scared of, do I move to a K through 12 environment because?
Well, I would say, you know, that goes back to your own calling, right? If it shifts so much that your calling is really being eye level to all of these amazing future leaders or current leaders, if it shifts so much that the level that we get them at is age 6 and your calling is getting them at age 6, you're changing the world looks different. Right? Yeah.
I'm just trying to visualize Rob working with
With
6-year-olds.
some
No,
6-year-olds?
that would not happen. No.
But you see, we take them through that whole framework. The instant no, that would not happen was your knowing yourself, right? And knowing if I have to tie a shoe, we're done. I'm not tying shoes. So you have to know yourself to know that.
Since you have like a college degree and like went to school, clearly you saw flaws within like the standardized educational system in the United States. Do you see flaws in college? Because I know it's like really irritating that my freshman year I spent a ton of money to basically speed through high school again.
So I would say the school that I grew up in at the time that I grew up, I wasn't frustrated by. The school that I taught in before we had our own children, I wasn't frustrated by. It wasn't until I was sending my own people into a place where I didn't know what was happening. And honestly, the influx and the integration of technology has had a big role in that. How are teachers using technology? Are they using it as babysitters? Are my children on things that I don't want, you know? So there are other like external factors. I think that college is an amazing tool for those that need a degree to do the job that they want to do. Can everything be improved? 100%. Everything can be improved. And I would say, I mean, thinking kind of about what you just said too, the place where I would go back and tell my younger self to do this differently would be to say, Lyndie, be present. Be present. Stop checking out. You know, just listen. You're here for a reason. Like, contribute to this. Don't just be dead weight in this class. And so I think that, yes, if what you want to do in the future includes you need a degree for it, 100% you're going to do that. But I also think that there's a lot of money wasted because we're just showing up to the class and not participating fully. Okay, who has ever moved furniture in their life? Now I have to give it back.